Hi guys, this is James Tabor, and we're going to be talking about student reporting labs this time and how it's useful for school librarians. So, as you might have gathered, student reporting labs is associated with PBS. It's basically an initiative on their part in order to get kids more interested in the news cycle and contribute their own reports to, well, let's just say to the national interest in news. We're going to dive right in because student reports, which is the actual content created by the students, is the primary reason for coming here. So as you can see on the right, so up here we have a search bar. Does all the standard searching that you might expect a search bar to do. And I'll show you that in a minute, but I wanted to also show you that you can filter reports down here. This is independent of searching, so you can't like choose a filter like the Arsenal Technical High School and then search and have it only come up from the Arsenal Technical High School, because these are not from that particular high school. But what you can do is you can say do that and apply, and there you go. You have only the reports from the Alonzo and Tracy Morning Senior High. Now again, doing that doesn't make a difference for the search results. You can also filter by topic, which is pretty cool, but these are very basic topics, not anything that's really terribly, shall we say, innovative, but it doesn't really have to be given the subject matter. And then the other filter reports, which I don't think I mentioned, is the actual reporting lab. And the good news is that if it's on this list, that means that they provided a report. So if, say, a school signed up to provide a report but had not yet, their name does not show up in this little filter. So you can't say, if Littleton, for example, decided that they were going to do this sort of student report thing and they didn't submit anything yet, you won't find Littleton here as a search term, which will save people a lot of headaches. So like I said, with the search bar, if you search music, you'll get reports based on music. You also get results from the lesson plans, which I'll cover in just a sec. And, you also get basically results from specific schools if they mention music anywhere in the description of the school. So let's try to narrow this down. Let's see if we can get any of these on the same in the same search using Boolean terms, because if you do music and singer, you end up with that young singer thing. If you do music or student, you're going to turn up a lot more stuff. Not necessarily all of it related, but that's what they say is opening up your search terms. You can do limits of free speech and get that. And basically, the standard Boolean terms all apply here. Pretty much everything that Kate told us in her video. It's, like I said, it's kind of a small pool of information to get searches from, but at the same time, if you're here at this website, it's because you're here for a reason. So let's get to it. So this website contains student reports, which are student created, a news section, which is basically anything related to student reports that can include reports done by students, or it can include stuff done by professionals that just relates to this whole initiative. The curriculum is an interesting thing because this is how they actually teach students how to handle the performance of the student report, how to submit, how to deal with that. And so there are a bunch of video tutorials. Those are pretty decent. I won't bring them up because it'll take up all my time here. You've got key resources for teachers and mentors, and then you can download the actual files. But like I said, if you search, and let's just go back to that music search, you can turn up the curriculum stuff here on the website itself. So this is actually a very useful resource for student learning. And it might not be immediately relevant to whatever the school or whatever the curriculum is trying to get the students to focus on. So I would even consider this possibly an extracurricular resource, especially if the students are left to carry out this sort of reporting in their free time. Now, what I personally recommend leaving students there to their own tools for creating student reports for PBS? No, not really. I would actually try to integrate this into a class. But since we're talking about school librarians, probably the most important thing you can do is to get them set up with this resource. Now, if you look, you can see locations, and these are all the places in the nation that have reporting labs, which is not a bad coverage, all things considered. But at the same time, no, I don't want you to know my location. At the same time, it might be useful to your students to see that there are other people who are actually taking this very seriously. But I don't want to get too drawn into how useful student reporting labs are on their own. Obviously, this is not quite what I was talking about before when I was talking about Open Door, which is talking about using databases or repositories in the library. This is not even close to the same thing. So I can't even use those basic rubrics for dealing with this. Instead, the thing to look at is this is a very narrow interest area for students. And so whether or not this is useful to your library or to your school depends highly on whether or not the school has any interest in pursuing a curriculum that involves student reporting. And I'm not just talking the high school newspaper. This is pretty involved, and it involves having the right equipment. It involves taking the time to actually produce these reports. A lot of these are high quality, basically news quality. And so while it's to be commended, it actually limits the usability of the schools to use this as a teaching method. That said, for those that it's useful for, it is probably a good starting point to an entire semester's worth of work, if not the basis for an entire year of new media study. And as librarians, this is exactly the sort of thing that we should be encouraging. So I have to give student reporting labs a thumbs up for usefulness for librarians, but again, with a warning that how useful it is will be limited by how applicable it is to your particular school. And by the way, this is probably not going to be of any use to post-secondary education, because again, if you take a look at the level of the students expected, this is more of a high school thing, possibly a middle school thing with severe adult supervision. I probably should have said that up front, but it bears mentioning no matter what. So hopefully everyone learned a little something from this, and everyone have a good night.